Looks like we've got a pretty large group in front of us. We have a pretty tight group. I think this is probably one of the impacts of running a session after lunch as opposed to before lunch. We've got two great presentations, and we've been planning on spending the bulk of the time answering questions in sort of a Q&A session. And so we've got a few of our own questions to kind of ask each other, but if you guys, as we walk through some of the content here, think that you have a question, save it, and we'll spend lots of time talking about them in general. We've got, I think, a great diverse set of panelists as well, representatives kind of from each aspect of compliance. We have Jamie Birch down at the end. He's president of JEBCommerce. They're an outsourced agency that manages a number of affiliate programs and has helped both large and small programs manage their compliance well. Next to Jamie, we have Graham MacRobie. Graham was the founder of Citizen Hawk and now is CEO of Alias Encore. They sit at a really unique place in the industry in that they're both an affiliate as well as an organization that helps solve basically compliance problems. They help merchants recover typo squatted domain names. It's one of the common problems that merchants and affiliate programs have. Next to Graham is Rachel Corcoran. She is Director of Compliance at Hydra Network. They are one of the largest, I believe, CPA networks. And she runs the compliance team there. I think more often than not, networks don't have compliance teams, and it's given, I think, many of the challenges they face, it's great to have Rachel with us as well. And then I'm David Naffziger, and I'm the CEO of BrandVerity. We work with we monitor hundreds of affiliate programs for search compliance. We work with agencies and merchants and networks as well. So I'm going to start. I've got 4 or 5 slides kind of setting the stage for compliance, and then we'll move to Rachel and get on to Q&A. So I think a key part of working with the networks, actually taking a quick step back, how many folks here are advertisers or merchants? Are there any affiliates in the room? Any networks in the room? Okay, that's helpful. And for the merchants, how many of you have just launched an affiliate program, let's say within the last 6 months? Okay, so you guys kind of know old hat and kind of know that what's coming at you. So questions thinking about how to build a successful relationship with the networks that you work with. I think there are several questions that each advertiser should be able to answer, and hopefully if you can't, by the start of this session, you will at least leave here and go answer them once you connect with your networks again. So who's responsible for compliance, and not just what organization, but which person on the team within the organization. What happens when an incident occurs? And we'll go into some of the questions around that. And then what data is needed to take subsequent action after the incident's been discovered. So we've seen a host of different relationships in terms of compliance responsibility. Some networks will manage it themselves. Some networks they'll have a fully outsourced relationship where they manage all aspects of your program, including compliance. And those same networks also have self-service models where they won't, for the most part, they try and avoid dealing with very specific compliance issues. So it could be you, it could be your agency, the network. Who in the network is important? Is it your sales rep? Is it your account rep? Is it a dedicated compliance team? Is it somebody who deals with these issues all of the time? And what's the experience level of that person? I think regardless of the organization that they're in, how seasoned is this person in the affiliate space? Too often, I think we see that person as the most junior person in the organization, and some of the compliance issues that come up are done so by folks who have built entire careers doing that. I'm not sure you call them a career, but have built entire businesses doing that. And so as you ask questions of your network and of your partners, figuring out who the person is that's responsible for finding and addressing those issues is super, super important. What happens when an incident occurs? This is where the agreements that you maintain with your network and your affiliate become super, super important. So when do you need to tell them by? When do commissions get finalized every month if you want to reverse commissions? You need to know at what point you can stop sort of prior month commission payments. What happens if something occurs and you believe it's fraudulent? Does the network refund your commissions? Does the affiliate refund your commissions? Are there any commission refunds? Maybe yes, maybe no. And if the network finds abuse, are they required to tell you that they found abuse, or do they just solve it and make it go away and you don't need to worry about it? And then with your agreement with your affiliate, I think many folks begin with the default agreement published by the advertisers, and over time they realize that they need to include different aspects of what is and is not prohibited in their agreements. I would encourage you to review your agreement and make sure that everything that you don't want to happen is spelled out as something which can't happen. Domain name ownership, I think, has some particularly tricky aspects of it, and we'll go to Graham a bit later to talk about that. But who maintains the rights to the domains that may involve your trademarks? We talked about commission reversing. And then who else is the affiliate abusing? I think we find affiliates will often abuse many merchants at the same time. And so oftentimes they'll pick market segments and they'll abuse you and your competitor. And this is probably one of the few incidents where some cooperation between competitors can be really, really effective, in that once you've spotted one affiliate, having them pulled from your industry can prevent them from basically becoming advocates, not advocates the wrong word, but basically further infringing on your terms on behalf of your competitor, as an example. And then what data do you need? We generally see merchants considering a number of different actions that they'd like to take. Getting the affiliate to stop is usually high on the list, and it may end there. It just may be a nice slap on the wrist and say, please don't do this again, and we look forward to a prosperous relationship with you. Oftentimes, when the abuse is more severe, they'll want to remove them from their program, and typically their terms and conditions cover that, and you can remove affiliates more or less at will. As soon as you begin to get towards dollars, it gets more complicated and more data is required to back it up. Reversing affiliate commission certainly is a very big step, and most networks will require a substantial amount of proof to demonstrate that was in fact abuse. And depending on the severity of the abuse, some networks will also go another step further and remove the affiliate from the network. And again, it needs to be very severe in these instances, and you need to have more or less irrefutable proof of what they were up to. So as you think through what actions you might want to take, and you kind of do your own research and discover an affiliate doing some form of abuse, first and foremost, when you spot something, capture all the data right there again. You may not get a second chance. We've seen a number of affiliates who will sort of do abuse once per IP address, as an example, or they'll do things that only allow you to be seen, the abuse to be seen the first time, and then after that, it's no longer there. So once you see it, screenshot it, capture it, and store that off and transmit it to your network as needed. And packet logs, abuse videos, and affiliate IDs, and third-party tool reports also can be critical in helping demonstrate that irrefutable proof that you likely need. So these are, I would say, largely general topic areas that we'll probably dig into more as we get into the Q&A section, but kind of keep this stuff in the back of your mind as Rachel walks through her presentation. Sorry, Rachel, as soon as I... Okay.
Thank you, David. Good morning, or good afternoon, I should say. I'm very excited to be here and to talk to you about compliance. I think that there is a lot of confusion surrounding the concept of compliance. The word compliance often evokes thoughts of regulatory compliance. We think of things like Sarbanes-Oxley. I think we have a little company called Enron to thank for that. You also get GLB notices in the mail from your bank and credit card companies annually. Not a lot of good associations generally with compliance. However, I think what, especially in this field, what we need to do is to start changing the way we think about compliance. If you've ever asked 5 people what compliance means, I think you'll get 5 different answers. And for that reason, I've kind of come to dread cocktail parties. It used to be that when I was a litigator, I kind of enjoyed going to a cocktail party. Inevitably, some, a well-intentioned person would ask me, what do you do for a living? And I would tell them I was a lawyer, and I would get the bad lawyer jokes, the insults, the dirty looks, and all of that. So that was kind of fun dodging that. Now when I go to a cocktail party and people ask me what I do, and I say I'm the director of compliance for an affiliate network, I get a very blank stare, maybe a shrug, and maybe a look of, total disinterest. I think people just don't understand what that means, especially within the context of an affiliate network, when you work with affiliate networks. So I'm hoping today to kind of change the way you think about compliance. So if you are a business owner, a merchant, a marketing consultant, even a sales exec or an account manager, maybe you're a CEO, CFO, a COO. If you hold any of those roles, I'm here to tell you that you are also a compliance officer. So welcome to my team. Not sure that's what you all came here today for, but that's the news I have to break to you. You're now officially compliance officers. So for your business, compliance means a number of different things. Probably most importantly, compliance means brand protection. Your brand is one of your most valuable assets, and you want to do everything you can to protect that asset. Compliance also means advertising integrity. You want to make sure that your product, that the advertising claims of your product are true and accurate, and that they remain that way throughout the marketing channel. I think compliance also means quality leads or quality actions. I think that's kind of the elusive thing. Everybody in this industry is looking to get the best leads. They need quality leads that lead to solid and increased consumer or client retention and client acquisition. And then finally, compliance also means proper promotion. You want to make sure that your product is being promoted in the ways you want it to be promoted and through the methods that you've chosen, and you want to make sure that the networks you work with make sure that that's done properly. So when merchants work with networks, when they work together toward compliance, something happens. I think that thing that happens is essentially quality control. So it suggests that maybe one of the ways you start thinking differently about compliance is to start thinking of it as quality control. Everybody understands what that means, and I think everybody can play a part in quality control. So let's start looking at brand protection. When you bring your campaign, your offers to a network, you want to make sure that your network is doing everything they can to effectively monitor your brand. And in order to do that, you need to make sure you're giving your network the right information to maximize their monitoring capabilities. For example, if you want to promote using search, of course you're going to give your network some keywords, some restricted keywords to monitor to make sure that affiliates aren't bidding on things you don't want them to bid on. But I think just as importantly, if you have decided that you don't want to use search to promote your campaign, then it's even more important that you give your network some terms, not that they'll publish on the network with that offer, but that they will use to monitor to make sure that there's no search bidding going on if there shouldn't be. Also, you can ask your network to monitor email from and subject lines, in addition to all the canned spam compliance monitoring that they should be doing. And then you also want to make sure that in order to protect your brand, that you're selecting the best channels and the best methods of promotion to promote your offers. If you're highly brand sensitive, then incentivization is probably not going to be the best method by which to promote your offer. So you want to think about the options that are available to you and make sure that it works best for you and for your brand concerns. Okay. Advertising integrity, also kind of a really key component of compliance. I think that it's easy for us to maybe try to shift the burden onto the network for advertising quality. However, I think merchants need to understand that in order to have a good campaign, you need to start with a good campaign, and that means you need to start with good and effective advertising. And in my experience, the best advertising is truthful advertising. So as a merchant, if you haven't familiarized yourself with the truth in advertising laws, I highly recommend you take a look at them. The FTC Act Section 5 is the truth in advertising law. Unfortunately, it's a very vague and broadly worded law, so it's intended to encompass just about everything that you can think of. But the FTC has really gone to great lengths to provide guides and policy statements on a number of different areas to really help businesses understand what is meant by truth in advertising. So they have guides and policy statements on everything from endorsements and testimonials. As you may know, on December 1st, 2009, the FTC's revised guide concerning endorsements and testimonials went into effect. So if your advertising includes any testimonials, you'll need to make sure that those testimonials comply with the new requirements. There are additional disclosures that you'll need to make. You'll need to disclose material connections if you've provided anything of value to a consumer who is portrayed in one of your ads as a happy customer. You'll need to disclose whether that person was remunerated in exchange for their testimonial. There are a number of other fine points within the revised guide that you'll also need to look at. The FTC has issued quite a few guides, actually, with respect to weight loss claims and dietary supplements. Also, they've addressed business opportunities. The use of the word free. Now, I'd like to see a show of hands. How many in this room have seen or heard of a free trial offer? Yeah, just a few. It might surprise some people to know that the FTC defines the word free as free, meaning in exchange for nothing. So the FTC they aren't happy to see that some advertisers define free as $19.95 a month. That's not what they want, and they do highly regulate the use of the word free. So, make sure from the start that your advertising is good, it's clean, it's strong, and make sure that you can substantiate those claims. So, for more information and for those guides, you can go to the FTC website. And also, I'd like to point out that if we think that the FTC is too big or too busy to be concerned with the advertising claims of some relatively small merchant, there's always the state's attorneys general who maybe have a little more time on their hands, and they've been going after advertisers for making claims. Most recently, claims concerning some egregious negative option or continuity billing offers. So the FTC has been busy, and the state's attorneys general have been busy, and there's good reason to make sure that your advertising is clean from the beginning, and that really helps your network to make sure that when they start with a good offer, they can monitor it and make sure that it continues to be promoted in a way that stays good, stays clean, stays compliant with these advertising laws. And hopefully you're working with a network that has some knowledgeable people on staff who can help identify some of these issues for you, if you're not sure if your advertising complies. Okay. I think quality leads and actions actually begin with the merchant, especially if you're working from a CPA based model where your action is a purchase. Credit card fraud poses a serious threat to your business, and therefore it's imperative that you take measures upfront, measures that the affiliate network can't take to prevent and detect fraud. So first off, make sure you select the right merchant processor for your needs. Make sure your merchant processor is able to provide the e-commerce services that you need. Not all merchant processors are created equal. So make sure you select a good one. Always use AVS verification up front to verify the billing address and zip code. That is perhaps one of the easiest ways to stave off fraud. It always surprises me how many merchants just don't want to verify billing address. It's a very simple way to head off fraud. Also, if you use a geolocation software, you can be checking even before the purchase is consummated to make sure that the IP address country matches the billing address country. And the use of order confirmations is actually a really great and easy way to validate that the email address is valid. And of course, you want to monitor your chargeback rates to make sure that if you see even the slightest increase in chargebacks, that's a red flag that something's going on, and you need to look into it. So I encourage you to kind of maintain your own negative internal file, your own fraud file, to identify fraud patterns, and then communicate that to your network. Make sure that you share that information with them to the extent that you can, because this will help the network obviously improve and refine the affiliate base that's promoting your offer, and it's going to help them improve the network as well. And the networks, obviously, there's a lot that they can do, a lot that they should be doing to detect fraud, but unfortunately, a lot of this happens after there's been an action. So, as David mentioned, there are always issues about invalidations, reconciling the commissions at the end of the month. I know that can be messy sometimes, but if you're working closely with your network and if you're taking these compliance obligations upon yourself, then when it comes to billing time, hopefully you'll have fewer invalidations to sort through. But your network should be employing dynamic, multifaceted affiliate vetting criteria right off the bat. A good affiliate network starts with good affiliates, and one of the best ways to do that is just to make sure that you're really getting to know your affiliates, and that you kind of change. I recommend changing up the criteria. Also, engaging in personal interviews. There's no substitute for that. Also, limiting the changes that affiliates can make to their account information is going to help stave off fraud. I'm sure most of the people in this room have heard about affiliate network accounts for sale. So that's something that networks grapple with. Trying to keep one step ahead of these very smart affiliates is definitely challenging. So one thing that your network should be doing is kind of limiting what an affiliate can do to manipulate his approved account. Also, monitoring traffic for suspicious activity. I think networks spend a good portion of their time looking at traffic and looking for patterns in data, looking for patterns across campaigns, not just within a particular campaign. We're looking for statistically unlikely patterns that might give us some early tip-off to fraudulent activity. So, and also within that means looking at conversion rates and traffic sources, making sure that the campaign is actually meeting the specifications that the merchant has set forth and is hitting all the right targets also. So I can't emphasize how important it is to really have that closed loop where the merchant or the advertiser is providing feedback to the network, and the network is in turn providing feedback to the merchant. That's going to be the best way to make sure that you're meeting your campaign objectives. And as you continue to refine the performance of your campaign, you'll see the benefits in improved ROI. And then finally, I'll talk a little bit about proper promotion. There are a number of ways. The beauty of an affiliate network is that you have a number of options available to you. You can promote your offers through search, display, email, and even within those categories, you can decide if you want to engage in PPC, SEO, search. Within display, do you want to use just banners, or are you also inclined to use pop-ups or pop-unders? Emails, you want to do a standalone email, or do you think your offer might be well suited for a newsletter? Those are all options that you need to consider, and you need to think about how best your product or service might be marketed through those channels. And then you also have to consider methods. There are a number of different methods available, such as contextual, incent, network syndication, and social networks. And this is an area where I really encourage you to ask questions of your network. I think if you ask 3 different networks what contextual advertising means, you might get 3 different answers. So educate yourself, really try to understand how the particular network you're working with, how they define these methods of promotion, and then consider what might work best for you. And obviously there might be some trial and error there. You might find that you need to mix up your campaign a little bit and test out some new channels or some new methods to get the results that you desire. And finally, I think I'd be remiss if I didn't talk a little bit more about social networks and social media. I found this to be a kind of a surprising statistic that social media advertising online has outpaced the growth of advertising on TV, I think by 80% in 2009. So it's huge. And specifically, social networking sites account for more than 20% of all US online display and impressions. So there's no doubt that this is a growing area of media. But the fluid advertising model of social media presents some unique challenges, and it really presents some unique challenges to affiliates as well as to merchants and advertisers. It's, I think, the biggest challenge for affiliates when they try to embark on social media advertising is that they don't have any guidelines. It's usually, aside from maybe the campaign instructions, there are no specific guidelines about what they can say or what they can't say in social media. And because of the way the mechanics of the social media have developed, I think social media ads need to be maybe even more clickable, more eye-catching than other types of advertising. So affiliates are really trying to optimize their ads. They're changing them out. They're really they're manipulating the copy, and they're doing a lot of things to make those ads work within that media. And then, unfortunately, I think a lot of advertisers they don't know what to expect. They're not expecting that kind of optimization to be going on within that media, and I think it comes as a big surprise to some who see their ads on Facebook and they say, well, that's not how I wanted it promoted. Pull that affiliate off my account. I think the best thing that a merchant can do is to develop a style guide specifically for social media. It needs to be replete with examples. Really talk about what you like, what you don't like, what an affiliate can say, what they can't say, what the ads should look like, what they shouldn't look like. And I think if you do that and talk to your network about what controls they have around social media advertising, then you can kind of reassess your expectations, and set your goals accordingly so that you can use social media advertising effectively. So to answer the overarching question today, where does affiliate network compliance end and where does merchant compliance begin? Obviously, it's a continuum, and the networks really need to work closely with their merchants and advertisers, and vice versa. And I think when they work together, they can get really, really great results. Thank you.
So I think we'll move into the Q&A section of the conversation. I think I'll start off and ask Jamie a question about starting up or about new affiliates joining programs. I think one of the points Rachel made.
There was going to be any direct questions.
What's that? I've been jotting them down over here. Right. Rachel mentioned how important it is to vet affiliates appropriately, and I think it's one of the things that I've seen kind of many merchants struggle with isn't the right word, but ignore almost is probably the better way to put it, where they don't vet new affiliates. And so I'd love if you could talk a bit about kind of how you think about affiliate vetting and what that process looks like for the clients you work with.
It's really where it starts. Compliance begins before the infraction is what I was writing down as Rachel was speaking. You don't think about compliance when something goes wrong or someone's doing something they shouldn't, and that goes to the style guide for social media and other kind of things. You don't have a compliance issue if you know who the affiliate is and you know whether they're doing what you want them to or not. If you don't let them in, there's never really a compliance issue with that particular affiliate. So knowing who you're letting in and how they promote you is very important. You run into many times where affiliates will not be as transparent as you'd like. Affiliate managers, agencies, all of us up here understand there's a protection of their business model that they need to adhere to. So you have to do a little digging, and it's one of the things that we do, as effectively as we can. And the first step in compliance for our clients, and it's the first step is we manually approve every application. And I know it's a simple thing, but there are many affiliate programs, and we run into them every week that still auto-approve their affiliates. And if you auto-approve your affiliates into your program, then you're going to have compliance issues. So you manually approve, and you're looking at flags in there, email addresses, what contact information do they have. You're checking out the website. You're looking at who is information, and then the really big thing. And last time we spoke in New York, that I highlighted, the people who are going to create these issues and these problems for you are very good at hiding themselves. It's why there are compliance teams. It's why we're talking about this issue. And the way you can protect yourself, one of the ways is build your network of colleagues, of other affiliate managers. Get out there. If you don't know anybody, after this session, go find a couple. Get out there, know them, and start sharing some information. You don't have to share proprietary data or sales or anything like that. But I know for myself and our affiliate managers, one of the first things we do is we look and see if they're in our database. We have the advantage of managing several programs and having done this for a little over 10 years to be able to look in our database and confer amongst ourselves. But then we go outside of that and we look at, we talk to other affiliate managers we trust and even other affiliates. Some of our best compliance monitors have been our trusted affiliates that we're working with, because they, when someone comes in and is defrauding our affiliate program, it's affecting their profits as well. So we work, that's one of the big things we do when we're looking at affiliate approvals. Now, I think everyone here can attest to the fact that sometimes you'll come in on a Monday morning and there are 400 affiliate applications that you have to go through. That's the nature of the beast. Most of the networks, if not all, provide some sort of filters in the beginning, and over time you'll be able to refine those filters to keep a certain amount of that out. You'll learn what countries affiliates come from that tend to cause problems.
So what are some of the filters that you found to be effective?
Country filters is really the biggest one.
No Canada affiliates?
No. You got to watch out for them. The country filter is really the big thing, and each network has different levels. You can, performance level and things like that. What we do with ours is we are very strict on who we let in, and our decline, the auto message or the message to that affiliate is very clear. We're very tight on who we let in for every program for various reasons. You may have been declined for several of these. At times we make mistakes, so please contact us. Yeah. This brings up the conversation we had last time, is if an affiliate contacts a manager, 9 times out of 10, they're not going to cause an issue. It's the ones that don't respond to an email.
So, people who don't want to have a connection with you.
If they don't want to have a connection, that's another flag. Oh, I may be having a problem with this one later. So you either let it sit, give them a little more time. But in that email that they get declined or rejected, or after we go through approvals and rejections and we have a queue sitting in there, we can email them and let those guys in there. We need more clarification. Or we'll email them individually, or if we have phone contact info, we'll call them there. To let them in. But in that email, we let them know, look, we really do want to work with you if it's legitimate and if it fits our model. So give us a call, give us an email, contact us via Twitter, Facebook, Smoke Signal, ham radio, whatever. Get a hold of us and we'll talk. We'll learn about it. The one thing about creating guidelines is the affiliates, many of them here, are very innovative, very good at creating new things, and you may not be able to create a rule to keep them in or keep them out, and they may break a standard rule that you have. So that's where you want to be clear in your communication in that process so they can get a hold of you. And that's contact info on your part is big too. Having them have that contact info, phone, email, a name to give a call to. So if there is a problem, they can get back to you.
Graham, I've seen you put together a list of bad countries, or sort of countries with extra caution. I think we all can guess some of them. Kind of like if you could give some context to some of that.
There are countries around the world that make it really easy for individuals to set up shell corporations, and so rather than being super straightforward and having a proper corporation in the U.S. or another country that you would like to do business with, they might have a shell corporation out of the British Indian Ocean Territory, someplace like that. The abbreviation for that one happens to be IO. So as an example, there's one, but there's probably at least 30 countries around the world where you pay a fee and voila, you have a corporation in that country with a mailing address and whatnot. And so, if you leave a business card up with us, we'll get you a proper list of some of the countries that could be problematic. And I'm not saying that necessarily every single affiliate from those countries would absolutely be fraudulent, but it would be one that I would definitely take another look at, because IO, as an example, has no inhabitants. It's like a military thing. Like there's no people, nobody's running a proper affiliate.
I heard there's no proper affiliate programs either.
No, no. So
Jamie runs Drop.io.
Drop.io, and I can assure you they're not on a military base, but they do exist. And
yeah, so sometimes some of the things that affiliates can be doing can potentially cause legal problems. It could be there are civil issues. There even potentially, depending on what you're doing, could even be criminal issues. And so when they're involved in that kind of thing, obviously they want it somewhere else, so that in the instance that somebody discovers what they're doing, the shell corporation and them are separated. And so there's that. I'm just going to throw in, I love Florida, I love Australia, but I will point out that when we see fraud, a lot of it's in Florida and a lot of it's in Australia. I don't know why. And I'm not saying, again, you shouldn't do business in those places, but I would say that when we look at, yeah, seriously, well, maybe they made all the money fraudulently and then they go hang out on the beach or something. So I just pay an extra. You can only see that pattern so many times before it's not a coincidence anymore, So I'm not sure why that's the case, but I would look at those two places as well.
We've seen the use of .co.cc domains really spiked recently. For some reason, I don't fully understand exactly why, but they're now given away for free. And so people are finding that they can get disposable domains at no cost, and they'll use them in search results and applications, and if it gets called out or ferreted out, pull up a new one. And sort of this like initial line of anonymity that they're trying to provide themselves as well.
Yeah, along those lines, one of my favorite, and this is a little bit, I'm going to say it's controversial because people have different viewpoints on this, but probably one of my favorite schemes for vetting affiliates is to offer a tiered payout structure. And what I mean by that is maybe you pay 4% right off the bat, but if they hit some dollar threshold, then you pay 5 or 6%. And what it causes affiliates to do that are going to do something fraudulent is instead of creating lots and lots of, if you offer a flat payment structure, and then they have no incentive to have one account. They can have as many accounts as they want, and they get the same. They get paid either way. But by offering the tiered structure, now you've given them some incentive to clump all. They want to get all of that fraudulent traffic going through one account so they can hit the other tiers, and that makes it easier to spot whatever fraudulent activity. So if it's misspelled domain names, for instance, they might have 50 misspelled domain names all pointing through the same account because they're trying to hit the higher tiers.
Right,
So-
whereas they would normally have, they'd all be.
It could be 50 separate.
By proxy or something.
Yeah, it
but-
could be 50 separate affiliate accounts. You
Yeah.
would never catch them. They'd all be too small. But by having the tier in there, now just as the other side of it, I hear that the tiered payout structure can be more complicated and it doesn't fit everybody's needs, whatever. So I don't know about that side of things. I just know from a catching bad guy standpoint, I love tiered structures.
So anyway, folks in the audience, feel free to jump in with questions as we kind of walk through this. I can't quite see over to that group too well, but we'll kind of keep talking and discussing some of this. And if you see something, hear something that piques your interest, just raise your hand or shout it out, and we'll kind of begin to focus that way. So Jamie, I was going to ask you a bit about, not Jamie, Grant, I was going to ask you a bit about sort of the interesting niche that you fill, where you're both an affiliate, a super affiliate, and effectively a partner exclusively to the merchant, and kind of how you kind of manage those relationships and work with the network and catch bad guys in the process.
Sure. Well, the line of work that we're in, we're looking for misspelled domain names, and it's work that companies would typically, or the process of recovering those misspelled domain names would be something that you might take to an attorney or to your in-house counsel. And our business model, and we're not the only company that offers this model, but there are companies, including ours, that offer a model where you can pay to have that domain recovery done on a CPA basis. And so you could almost think, I have to just be right out and say we're not offering legal advice or legal services in any way. But that being said, if sort of in layman's easy way of thinking about it is it's almost like legal work on a CPA basis. That we're doing some of the same things at your specific direction. So we're not making legal decisions, but those are being paid for on a CPA basis. And so, yeah, I think it gives us an interesting perspective because we're an affiliate, and we'd like to see affiliates in general treated fairly, being that we're one of them. But at the same time, we're sort of also going out and finding the fraudulent.
Do you find yourself going after affiliates who've fraudulently picked up Tipis London domains as opposed to just the folks who are parking?
Oh, constantly.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that does happen. It happens more frequently than I think many merchants realize, where the affiliates register misspelled versions of your own domain name, use those domains to point traffic back to your own site, and then pick up an affiliate commission. And for all intents and purposes, you're paying for trademark infringement. I mean, it's almost like adding salt into the wound. You know what I mean? It's bad enough that they've infringed on your trademark. Now they're actually getting you to pay them to do it. And so I would say that's an interesting situation. If you haven't thought through what your policy on that is, it's something that you want to think through sooner rather than later. It's much harder to deal with the issue after it happens. So here's the dilemma you have. Suppose you find that somebody has misspelled domain names that point back to your site. Do you throw them out of your program? Well, I can tell you they still have the domain names, and they will absolutely point them somewhere else. They will take them and point them to your competitor or to a page full of advertising or something along those lines. But perhaps you had the traffic at least coming to you before. Now you don't even have the traffic at all. So there's that messiness. And then we've seen some companies where they have a reasonably lax policy on who can own domain names. They're like, oh, that's fine, you can do that. And then like the dating industry is really famous for this kind of thing, where they'll have contests every so often, see who can be like the top affiliate. They pay out a huge bonus. And what we see is all of these misspelled domain names from all of the different ones all instantly like pick up and all point over to the one company that's got the big promotion running.
They talk about tiering, like tiering to the extreme.
Right, and so the thing is that you get to a point where with your affiliate program where you start to depend on that traffic. That if you're the affiliate manager, you're looking to hit certain numbers every month. You're hoping to go up and up and up. One month, 25% of your traffic disappears. You don't know why. Well, it might be because you didn't have control over where the traffic was coming from.
So it's actually, Rachel, it's kind of a question from your view of the network. Do you see, certainly once you find somebody who's been doing something wrong and they're, let's say, removed from the program, that merchant's affiliate channel now has just dropped in size if they're doing something sizable. Kind of how do you manage sort of those expectations and what happens when that occurs? Because at some point it can be very disappointing. They thought the channel was this big and now it's this much bigger. And
Right. So yeah, that's never great for the merchant or the advertiser. And I think at that point, what we do is we really like to sit down with the advertiser and make sure we understand the objectives of the campaign, first of all, and what their targets are. Okay, so they've just lost a lot of distribution. Then depending on what their risk tolerance level is and where they, how they want to promote, we'll work to put together really a good affiliate base, kind of drawing from areas where we know that we have strength, where certain affiliates can really do some volume, and we'll bring them into the account, and we'll monitor that and try to grow it incrementally until we can get them back to where they were before. But it just means, and sometimes it means changing the nature of the offer a little bit, changing it up a little bit to attract different affiliates. You may have lost a big distribution channel, but by changing the offer a little bit, you may be able to attract different affiliates to run that offer.
so of the merchants who are in here, how many of you do your own compliance or have kind of actively been engaged in compliance? A couple, and the rest of you, how have you been managing it so far? Okay, well, for the two of you that have been doing it, what are some of the things that you've seen that have kind of made you wonder how they feel like got there, what they were doing, or like some of the examples of the sort of in the trenches bad stuff that you've ferreted out of your program? Like if you are comfortable.
I just noticed that every now and then where I just noticed the misspelled domains, managed to get some Google juice, and I think we've got a fairly good system for.
So you'll see it appear in the organic results.
Yeah, and we will find out who it is, and stop all their affiliate payments, and then make moves to take the domain, which I think is, I think we've run into that enough that we.
You've now got a system and an approach for it.
On
And
a regular, well, not too regular basis, people who kind of niche, so it doesn't happen that often.
I like some of the things that I think Microsoft, they were very vocal about some of their domain takebacks, and I think that has helped them make recovery easier, although these guys probably have a better sense, but it seems like that kind of has helped their process as well, and that people know that they're going to be found out. And
Do you find that a lot of affiliates will drop your IP, your local IP? How do you monitor against that?
so the moment that you send an affiliate an email address, they have your IP address of where you're sitting. Or if they send you something with an image in it, they can pretty quickly figure out where you're sitting. And it's something that we've seen some of the, I'll say, more sophisticated affiliates take very aggressively. And so they'll block the IPs of the network and of you and of your agency and the host of things that might not be safe, and reverse geotargeting as well with search ads. I'll speak to how we manage it. My guess is that you guys have some other interesting solutions. So one of the things that we'll do is we've got a network of basically agents that are sitting out around the globe that changes from time to time. And so that allows us to get different and fresh perspectives on what an affiliate might be doing. Tools like Google Translate are super, super useful because it's effectively serving as a proxy and gives you a view of that page from one of Google's IP addresses. Granted, the same people are often trying to hide from Google as well. So you could Mr. T-ify their website or one of the other like translation things that may get you a view of the website from a different location. I don't know. You guys have other?
Did you say Mr. T-ify?
Have you ever seen the Mr.
Sounds like
T-ify
fun.
thing? It's just
I
like
have not.
if like you can take any website and give it to the Mr. T-ify thing and it reads it back to you in Mr. T speak.
No, but I will. That's awesome.
I would mention Tor, if you guys are familiar with
That's what I
this.
was thinking of, yeah.
There's also a great Firefox plugin that allows you to sort of turn it on,
Yeah.
which is nice.
So Tor is a network of proxies located around the globe that are run by volunteers, for lack of a better term. Your traffic gets routed mostly anonymously through the network, comes out, pops out at some random location. You don't even get really a chance to determine where it's coming out, and it can give you, like David mentioned, a view on what your site may look like from somewhere else in the globe. Tor, in my experience, is preposterously slow.
Yeah.
It's like it's painful, but if you really need to see it from somewhere else and you're not convinced that you're getting a clean view yourself, that's one. I can tell you.
I think the most sophisticated folks, like you can discern the Tor IPs. They'll know that it's Tor.
You
much
can.
Like, yeah, much
You
like
can,
Google
you can
Translate
definitely
and
get a
other
list of
services.
Tor's exit nodes, and you can write code for that too. But
It's a whole other level that I think we're not at yet with most of the black hats we're seeing, but we will be at some point.
yeah, I don't mean to call out a specific company because this happens to everybody, but we happen to be in conversations with Blockbuster, and we ran searches for their domain names and discovered that blockbusteronline.com, spelled correctly, was pointing to a casino. A casino. I was like, how could that possibly be? That's what they're out advertising with. It is their name spelled correctly. So we talked to them about it. We said, did you know Blockbuster Online points to a casino? And they're like, no, it doesn't. We're like, yes, it does. And we did like a go-to-meeting, and sure enough, it goes to the casino. And it turns out, near as we can tell, that the people running that site were geolocating the requests. And when Blockbuster's headquarters are in Texas, I guess, and if the request was coming from Texas, they were directing it back to their site so it looked proper. Anywhere else, they were sending it to the casino, and they didn't know,
Nice.
And like I said, I hate to point them out specifically. It's just an interesting example, but it happens all the time. I could give you a long list of stuff that we found along those lines. So I would say watching out for that is important.
Go ahead.
I've seen some domain squatters by international domains like blockbuster.ca, for instance.
Yep.
Will these domain recovers be able to recover international domains, or do they only work with misspelled variations?
The process for recovering domain names, whether they're misspelled or not, in other countries varies from country to country. .coms and a couple of others go through something called the UDRP, which is the Uniform Domain Name Dispute Resolution Policy. That's a reasonably straightforward thing that either you can hire a company to do, you can get a lawyer to do it, even your internal counsel can do it. We do it. But if you want to do it at .ca, for instance, they have a slight variation on the UDRP that is for Canadian domains, and there's dozens of them. There'll be a slightly different procedure for pretty much every top level.
Do any of them use the UDRP process itself, or is it always a variation?
Most of the templates that I've seen appear to be very close, like almost duplicates of the UDRP. They're very familiar. So if you found somebody who could do the UDRP, I would say that the other countries are not out of the question. It's just a question of perhaps finding somebody with some expertise. I honestly will not claim to have any expertise, having done them out of the country, but perhaps a lawyer.
Have you seen international registrations in countries you care about, or is it more like the Indias and Chinas of the world?
I just don't know how, we don't really ship internationally, some areas we do in Canada, but if we have people searching, our site from Canada, do I care if they, that's a question, I don't know what to think about that.
Your lawyer may have a viewpoint on this as well, which is that sometimes attorneys have the standpoint that if you know about the trademark infringement, you have some obligation to see what you can do about it anyways. Like simply ignoring it may not, and so I would just have a conversation with them and see how they feel about it even existing, much less. And then from our standpoint, we tend to be more interested in which ones get traffic. And so, companies like ours can provide some value in helping you figure out whether it's worthwhile from a traffic standpoint. Sort of, we would take the standpoint that if like a tree falls in the forest and nobody's there to hear it, has it made a sound? That kind of viewpoint. And to your point, if somebody has a .mx version of your domain name and it gets 0 hits a month, then do you care? So it's difficult to advise you whether or not you should go after the .ca without knowing where your organization's risk tolerance lies and how that relates to your brand and your traffic goals.
I think Clark Walton, who's one of the lawyers I've seen on these domain panels from time to time, would say that there's no end to defensive registrations that you can do. So you basically could, there's a zillion extensions. There's always more. There's lots of different misspellings on it. And per Jamie's point, like it is a conversation with what's the particular value of that? Is there a risk to losing ownership of the trademark? And even country by country, they have different laws, and so they may not respect the trademark registration. In the U.S. as an example, but like you do need to sort of to some extent temper what you go after, presuming that there's lots of things out there that may not have any actual value to them because they don't receive much traffic.
To David's point, though, it is considerably less expensive, orders of magnitude less expensive to register the domain preemptively.
Yes.
If you know you're going to
Yes.
launch a brand, I would say we can give you a more sophisticated list, but just off the top of my head, take your domain name and every variation that includes a missing letter, so go all the way down the letters and remove them one at a time, all of those, plus all of the swap letters, all the juxtapositions. So you're looking at, if you had a 8-character domain name, you might be looking at buying maybe 16 more domain names that are those variations, all in the .com. I would say buying those up front is infinitely cheaper than having to file even a single UDRP down the road. Whether they're valuable or not, you'll have them, you will sleep better.
Sorry.
Well, you want to make sure that it matches what they, purported in their application. You want to put, I'm big on processes, so I try to define, and I think my staff will, I don't know if they enjoy that or not, but we try to define what is what we know we don't want to see. It's sort of like that congressman once said, I don't know what porn is, but if I saw it, I could say it was it. You don't always know what you're not going to let in, but you know a lot of the things that you definitely won't when you see it. So, you're looking for stuff that's inappropriate for your brand. Big brands that off the top of your head, everyone knows that are applying to your program, and that's a big flag. Really badly programmed sites, and from a visual perspective, that look horrible. I mean, these are really obvious things, and
If it's not going to convert, you have to sort of question about what that traffic source might actually ultimately be.
yeah, we've had car sites apply to our makeup program. You're looking at the demographic of that
Did you let
site.
them in?
No, they turned out to be. They didn't own that domain that they submitted,
They're
and
just faking a domain.
yeah, they just grabbed a website. It was a well done website, but
It wasn't theirs.
it wasn't theirs, and so that's where you're looking at the website and you go, okay, well, we're selling high-end skin cream for women, and you're talking about a '57 Chevy. I don't know, maybe like holiday season you do kind of well for their wives, but, so then that prompts you to look at something else. So a lot of it is common sense. If in your gut, you're looking at it going, I don't know, yeah, like 9.5 times out of 10, your gut's right. The rule that I use when I worked at Coldwater Creek managing their program, and my rule of thumb was if I had the CEO in my cube, and he was like, why are we on this? And I couldn't give a really good definition, or, I couldn't defend this affiliate, then we didn't let him in. And I use that because that happened a lot with the CEO in there. Why are we on this side or that side? Yeah.
So I think one of the things that I would stress, and we see a lot of, is trying, by looking at the site, you should hopefully get some sense for what the site's purpose is in the ecosystem of the world. And oftentimes some of the sites that we'll see that are effectively, they're just there to launder referrers that come through Google, they're just a list of merchants. And no one's going to shop from a list of merchants on some random website. So like something like that, like why would somebody come here? What are they doing here? How did they get here? If you can't answer those questions when looking at the site, it's probably a flag that doesn't make, that's not going to tell you. Like, web hosting can certainly apply anywhere, but you got to have, like, it's got to tie in some way, shape, or form to the rest of the world, I guess, to some extent, for it to make sense. Which I'm sure you're sort of seeing some of this anyway.
And just for the affiliates in the room, it's really easy for you to stand above the crowd. Very easy for you, and it's in your benefit to be a little transparent on at least who you are, how to contact you, and the top line stuff of how you're doing things. Very easy to differentiate yourself and gain better offers, better terms, better cooperation.
Okay, I think we've gotten the time flags a couple times. You all have evaluation sheets. Please fill them out. Tell us what we could have done differently, done better. This information does go into incorporating and improving the sessions, and it can be, I think, very useful for both us and the planners as well. And thank you all for your time. We appreciate it.